We are witnessing more and more conservative support for federal programs involving our local police. All these programs will supposedly solve the problems we see in the major cities around the country. It's time to question if these programs are needed and how it fits into the communist agenda. Last week, I focused on the strength of organization. This week, we're going to focus on that strategy. Most people do not realize that many of the stories we heard as children had a political slant to them. Take, for instance, the Aesop story of the Tortoise and the Hare. Most people think that it was just a moral of a person laying down on the job may finish last, even if they have a large head start. Let's look at it from another angle. Both the tortoise and the hare had the same goal of winning the race. Let's look at it from the angle of both having the same political goal. For instance, the idea of nationalizing our local police into a national police and then placing them under the jurisdiction of the United Nations. This is the end goal of the communists. The hare represents the Marxists and is very open about what he wants. He wants to race right to the goal with the defunding of local police and placing the local police under federal or even international regulation. It's open. It's overt. The tortoise, who represents the Republicans, wants the same thing but approaches the goal with patient gradualism and the appearance of being helpful and benign in his intent. The tortoise points out the obvious problems in the major cities of rising crime, murder rates, releasing criminals on the streets, etc., and proposes a gradual solution of using the federal government to provide money for cities to hire more police, for the federal government to provide equipment for local police. Indeed, there is a call by the hare for complete revision of policing in the United States, but the tortoise is not willing to do that. He only wants a federal law reforming the police. And the story goes on, where the fast hare wants radical change and the tortoise wants a slower method to arrive at the same solution in the long run. Government always grows. There is no exception. That is why our founders fashioned a constitution only giving so much power to the federal government, with the remainder to remain with the states and the people. It did not give the power of policing to the federal government. Any regulation by the federal government over local policing will ultimately grow into full control. The hare, of course, is the Marxist in our country. The tortoise is the Republicans who, either out of conspiratorial design or ignorance, do not see where giving any power over local policing will ultimately lead to federal control and nationalization of our police. Do not believe for an instant that there are not Republicans who are just as Marxist as the radical Republicans. They just hide it better. People who want power run on the party that constitutes the majority in their area. If it is a Democrat area, they run as Democrats. If it is a Republican area, they run as Republicans. Wyoming and Arizona are prime examples of this fact. The Cheneys and McCains are prime examples of this fact. Both of these individuals belong to the Council on Foreign Relations while feigning conservatism. The CFR's mission is to move the United States into their new world order, a one-world government where we would lose our independence and constitution. They always fooled their voters into believing they were conservative, but voted globalist all the time. They are examples of the tortoise. Say one thing to get elected, or feign that they have had a change of heart to get reelected, or by getting people to believe they are less radical than their opponent. Keep in mind that no matter who would have run the race between the tortoise and the hare, they both had the same goal, one on the fast track, the other taking a slow but steady progression toward the finish line. Another tale that shows the problem with what we are discussing is the tale of the travels of Gulliver. He was shipwrecked upon a strange shore and fell asleep. This land was inhabited by very small people, and they had a plan to disable Gulliver, who was, to them, a dangerous giant. They slowly and carefully laid small threads across Gulliver's body and limbs until there were so many that Gulliver was disabled, even though he was much more powerful than the Lilliputians. This is what's happening relative to law after law, regulation after regulation in regard to our local police, remaining under local control rather than federal control. No one string seems that onerous, but they add up. At some point, our local police will no longer be under our local citizen control as a result of these strings. The John Birch Society has done a good job over the years of alerting the American people of the problem, but more needs to be done. The people need to be made to realize that the slow way, the gradual way, is a serious danger to their ability to retain local control over their local police. Remember, a national police serves the state. Local police serve the people. Go to jbs.org for more information of the dangers of federalization of our local police and how you can get involved and involve others in our Support Your Local Police and Keep Them Independent committees. And don't fall for any scheme that gives more power to the federal government over local police, no matter how enticing the money may seem or how small the powers given to the federal government.